job there at that time, and my grandfather was a millwright. So when things would break down on the steel mills, he would get called in to have literally an 8th grade education. He would grab wrenches and anything else he needed, and he would fix it on the fly to get that machine back up again, so we could be churning out stuff pre-war and then during the war, right? War material. That's on my father's side. The Army Air Corps crew chief is on my mother's side. We're sitting on the floor there because my parents had just bought a house. We didn't have the money to buy furniture yet, so we didn't have a couch in our family room growing up. So there we are, just hanging out. My sister's on the left. I'm there on the right. In that top center picture. And my two brothers, I have 2 older brothers. One Army Ranger, he's retired, and then the other one is a professional caddy who's down in Florida, living a high life in Cocoa Beach, right? Taking famous people around, hauling around their clubs. So a lot of service in my family there, and some humble beginnings. Again, another picture of my dad in the bottom right there, and then high school picture with my family in the middle bottom. And there's my sister growing up. No, she's not married, but we'll leave it at that. Love my family. Okay, next picture. So that's my family right before I was married. Went off to the Air Force Academy. I was recruited to be a defensive end at the Air Force Academy by Chris Gizzi, one of the defensive backs. You guys remember, one of the famous all-star defensive backs at the Air Force Academy. So top left screen there, you can see me freshman year. Number 96, defensive end. I was able to play all the way up to the Silicon Valley Bowl. We went down and played against Fresno in California. So just right down the road here. Played against Colorado State, a lot of other good teams. And holy smokes, that was a humbling experience going from high school where I thought I was pretty good. And then I go to Division I football and I get crushed by 300-pound linemen from Colorado State University. And they were badasses, but it made me stronger and taught me some grit. Sophomore year, I decided after taking boxing for the first time, because we all have to take it, right, the academy, I liked it. I found out I was pretty good at taking a punch, and that's part of it, right? Getting beat up by my older brothers, they would put me in headlocks and knock me out and all that stuff when I was younger, and I could take a punch pretty good, right? So I tried out, did well in the class, beat the current heavyweight, and then I essentially switched to boxing, and I'll get into why I switched later. But there in the top middle, wing open right there. So I think that was senior year, top right, whatever, that silly pose. My daughter wanted me to put that in there. Picture of my dad and I, graduation, bottom left. Then my sponsor parents, you know, folks that are from the academy, they know what that's all about. They're essentially volunteer parents when you're away from home, because I only went home like 5 times because my parents didn't have the money for tickets for me to go back and forth. So I didn't go home a whole lot. They're pretty crucial in my time there at the academy. Jim and Santa, great people. All right, we'll go back to that later. Next slide. Okay, so I designed this slide. This is important because this permeates for me onto everyone else kind of in this room and everyone else watching. You see a bit of a dichotomy in the pictures, right? So on the left, my wife and I, Andrea, little Bella there, I was coming back from, I think I was just coming back from the stage or a mission, and I was holding her there, the little blonde. She's much older now and bigger, and I can barely hold her now. It's amazing how time flies, guys. Just remember those memories. And then Kelsey, who's also 14, you've seen her running around, and that's a trend you guys are going to see. My family loves coming into the squadron, and now that I can let them come in, as I want y'all to bring your families in, they're going to be running around. And if they bother you guys, just kick them out, because they get thick skin because we yell at them all the time. But yeah, there's Kelsey, me coming back from the flight, I think a local there at Dover. And then the bottom left, just a picture of us, more recent. I think that was 2 years ago when we were in Italy on the wall of the city where we live. And then on the other side of the slide, you see pictures of me mainly deployed, right? Because those are the hard times that we try and balance. And I hate the word balance, it's more of a harmony. So I try to create a harmony in this slide to show that I have a duty to serve, but at the same time, my family comes first. And how do you balance that? Because we always say, you know, mission first, people always. How do you do that? And I don't have the right answer. I will tell you it's a struggle. I struggle with that today to balance that time. But you know, my family means everything to me, and so does this nation and what we stand for. So it's a tough dichotomy. But what I do know is that it's a constant struggle. It's an infinite game. I'll go back on that term here later. It's an infinite fight, not a finite fight. So that's enough about me and my pictures. Let's roll into kind of some standard stuff. And I want to be crystal clear, guys, on some of these. Some of these I have to talk about, right? Or it's suggested, really, from the commander courses and things like that to address. The other things I just I think are important, okay? And it's about where we're going to take this team in this tricky time. Because we're going to come out of this. I'm confident of that. I'm certain of that. But it's how we attack some of the things we're challenged with going forward is what really matters. It's what actions, not just the words. All right. So I think we have up is why we're here. Am I matched? Yeah. Okay. Why we're here, guys. Mission. If you these should be pretty clear, guys. I've been here for 2 years. So if you have any questions about this, talk to your supervisor. But what I want to be clear about is the mission, right? World-class global airlift safely and efficiently. If everything you do, or anything that you do, I should say, in your workplace, in this squadron, or supporting flying, it doesn't support our mission, then I want you to raise your hand and say, why are we doing this? Okay, I'm serious. When we're trying to reinvigorate the squadron and we're trying to get better and more efficient, more lethal, right, as airmen, if you're doing something that's just, it's not supporting it, whether it's some type of tasker that was pushed down to you or some other type of task that you were given by cross organizations, etc., let me know. And not directly, obviously, but let your leadership know in your flight, in your section. Because it all comes down to this. If what we're doing in a workplace doesn't support our mission, then we need to raise our hand and ask the question if we need to have it done. And I'll take risk. If we want to eliminate some things, I'll take risk. I'll write the memo, whatever, and we'll not do it. The vision, right? This is what we're trying to get after. Operate the best, care the most, have some fun along the way. I said that in my change of command speech. Colonel Pollock said it. Goodness, every other week at least, right? This is what we're about. This is what we're striving towards. It's another infinite game. Because how do you operate the best, right? How do you get to 100%? It's not easy. And I don't know if anyone will ever get to 100%. They'll get to 99.9 of excellence, right? But it's a constant fight. Same with care. How do you be the person that cares the most, right? I don't know. It's like defining love. How do you love the most? How do you know your mom, like, Mom, I've loved you the most. I'm 38. I've won this fight. I've won this game. I've loved you the most. We're done, I think, right? So I get my A in my paper. It's not. It's an infinite fight. Priorities, guys. Self-explanatory. People, purpose, performance, partnerships. All right. This is a new one. Commander's intent. Commander's intent. I hate jargon words, right? But it's so important of what this means. Commander's intent is my ability to try and get you inside my head, what I'm thinking about, and all the decisions I make are pushing towards this on the slide. Folks in the room, you can't read, right? It's not on the slides behind me. So I'm going to read it to you. Build cohesive teams, build agile teams, armed with the best training and equipment, and I have these underlined. Best training and equipment. Everyone else on the Zoom can see this. To execute rapid global mobility, empowered to innovate. Okay, so I'm having you come up with solutions. I don't have the answers. Empowered to innovate with the authority of mission command. Mission command, another jargon term. What is mission command? Is me taking risk and pushing down decision making to you. So if you know my intent and within your flight, you're like, we're gonna get after something. You get after it. And guess what? You don't ask permission, okay? You just let me know. Like, boss, we're gonna do this because this makes sense. We're not breaking any rules. We're not breaking AFIs. If we do need to break an AFI, just let me know. We'll write an MFR, okay? I'm empowering mission command so you can make the decisions. Lord knows I don't have the brain. I don't have the time to come up with all the solutions. I try sometimes, but I don't. Okay, next slide. I work for the team, okay? This is a human endeavor. I brought y'all in this room. We're spaced out 6 feet. Everyone's got masks on. How do you do human when we can't shake each other's hands, do a fist bump, give each other a hug when it's required, have tough conversations, have fun together? It's not easy, and I think it's taken a toll. Speaking to all the squadron commanders, we've had several meetings this past week. Our acceptable level of risk to do things like get people together is ticking up more and more and more. I can't go into detail. It hasn't affected our squadron, but there's other squadrons in this wing that are having a lot of attempts. I think you know what I'm talking about. And other folks around the nation and other folks, squadrons around our Air Force, Army, and our other sister services are having an uptick. Why is that? Because we don't have these human interactions, right? A virus I can maybe cure, and we're definitely going to continue after fighting that, right? And protecting ourselves against the virus. I can't take back other things. I can't take it back. Once it's done, it's done. What I do want to get after is preventing it, right? So at the end, we're going to talk about some fun stuff we're going to get after, and I'm going to accept some risk as a commander because I think it's important. Relationships matter. Walk the walk, okay? Christina wants a GPS tracker on me. She told me as VO because all I do is I like to walk around. I start walking around. I forget about my calendar now that I'm starting to have one that's filling up. And I like talking to people. I'm going to run back in training and talk to you guys. I'm going to run back to Stand About. I'm going to talk to Jenkins. And we're going to chat about old times back at Dover. And we're going to talk about what's going on right now. Because that's what I like to do. It's important. And I think it's super vital. I can't write that down and on a checklist. It doesn't say, hey, go walk around the Stand About today and go talk to Jenkins, go talk to Adam Smith. No, it's just something I like to do. I think it's super important. Does that make me less efficient? Guaranteed. Guaranteed. But guess what? I'll be the first one to raise my hand to my commander and say, boss, I'm late because I want to have a conversation with my team. And I'll do that. I guarantee I will do that because it's probably going to happen. Christina's shaking her head up and down like, yep, you're going to be running around somewhere and I can't find you. And it's going to be a helmet fire. Okay, communicate now. In the meantime, as we get ourselves back to the new normal, reach out, guys. Whether it's a text, whether it's a Zoom call, a regular call, whatever. Be communicating with your teams. I'm looking at the flight commanders. I'm looking at the flight chiefs that are in this room. You guys got to communicate, right? That is kind of the key between heading things off, nurturing your people, and making sure they're okay, right? And that shows them that you care. I know you care. You need to show them, and I'm sure you're already doing this, but I want to make it very clear. Okay, I'm going to be fair, consistent, and transparent. Colonel Pollock did the same thing. Nothing's going to change there. I'm going to tell you what's in my head. Anytime a big decision I make the team like I'm doing right now, I'm going to tell you what's in my head, what risks I'm taking, and what we're getting after as a team. What are the benefits? Because with every risk, there's got to be a benefit. Otherwise, why would I take the risk? Okay, so I'm going to be fair, consistent, transparent, guys. All right, what I value. I think that's important, right? Again, it goes back to commander's intent. What's in my brain? This is part of my biases, right? There's just good and bad biases. It's part of my upbringing. It's part of who I am. I value collaboration. I don't think we do it enough, especially right now because we're not together. Holy smokes. How do you collaborate? Yeah, technology helps, but getting folks in the room, I'm looking at ops. We couldn't do ops. We couldn't keep our operations going if we didn't have some people, less than 10, with masks on as best we can, in ops, going through the training priorities meeting, going through the daily huddle, something I did as a DO that I thought, why don't we do this? Why don't we get together? Because it makes us so much better when we interact and communicate and we collaborate. So collaboration to me is super important. Ownership, no shocker there. Colonel Pollock's talked about that time and time again. I'm the same way. Own it. Own your failures, own your successes for your team, okay? I'll be the first one if you walk in and say, boss, I effed up. I'd be like, okay, what's up? You know what I mean? Tell me. There's a difference between failure and a mistake. Failure is admitting you're wrong and doing nothing about it. A mistake is you do something wrong and you're like, I got a plan. I'm like, that's gonna turn into wisdom, okay? That mistake is going to turn into wisdom, and you're going to, guess what? You're going to collaborate and share with other folks, right? Because that's the humility piece, and that's next. How about that for a segue? I'm getting better. Humility is super important to me. Super important. Be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what? I'm not perfect today. When I walk out the door, I'm going to get better. You know what? I'm going to make everyone else better around me. And there's a McRaven speech. He was General McRaven, or Admiral McRaven from the Navy. Give a graduation speech. We'll listen to it later sometime. He talks about making your bed. Getting up in the morning, making your bed. If you do that one little thing, right? And if the rest of the day just goes super, super shitty, and you come back and you're like, at least I get to lay down in a made bed. I accomplished something, right? That's important. Perseverance. I'll talk about grit later, right? And if you see these things lining up with what Colonel Kramer's been talking about in the Chief Pilot Office, joint professional development communication, yesterday with Nico, super powerful. There's a thread. We've been working together, Colonel Pollock and myself, the current DO, got Fez, and also Colonel Kramer. We've been working for the past 2 years to build this, right? Build this personal development, the investment in you. I don't care where else you go. You know what I mean? In Silicon Valley, there's some amazing places to work for. There's amazing people. But I don't know where else. I can tell you in 9 flying squadrons where I've seen personal investment from the leadership on down in you. We're not going to stop with that. So the perseverance piece is so important to me. I'm going to persevere. It's something I'm going to talk about here in a second. And I'm looking for you to persevere as well. Okay. I'm not new, guys. I've been here for almost 2 years. You know me, okay? None of this that I'm talking about should be a shock. I'm not going to change things for the sake of change. Why? Now, some things like COVID, some things like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if Godzilla ripped out of Mount Diablo tomorrow and gave birth to baby killer clowns. All right. And we're like, it's a zombie apocalypse, right? 2020, holy smokes. But I'm not going to change things for the sake of change. If we have to change because of changing environment, then we will. Okay. But it's going to be super clear and apparent. Okay. My expectations of you, I've kind of alluded to this already. Next slide. Empower the team. Everybody know what that is? Trust. Trust is currency. Give people a bit of a leash, depending on how mature they are, how old they are, right? How long they've been in the military, their duties. All right. Hold them accountable. We're looking for that too, guys. Accountability is important. That goes along with ownership. Own this opportunity. You heard me talk about this before. The students that are watching, all right, I wish I had 3 hands and I could watch and scroll through who's looking. Eye to eye, I'd be looking for you guys in the crowd. You're given a golden ticket. Master Sergeant Ish, I love it when he stands up and talks about, I didn't know how good it was until I showed up. And coming from what I did previously and what I do now, I love what I did before, but what I do now is awesome. Being a combat aviator, being an enlisted aviator, being a pilot, being a part of the support of this awesome team, it's important, okay? And you're handed a golden ticket. Don't waste it. And if you want to have a talk to any of your flight leadership who've been doing this job for more than 6 months, okay? And they'll tell you what you could miss out if you don't give it your all. Elite team, high expectations. Already alluded to it, right? To those who are given, much is expected. We're gonna expect a lot. It's gonna be hard, but I guarantee you it's gonna be worth it. Be an expert in your craft. We got a lot of experts in this room. We got a lot of experts that are watching. If you're not taking the opportunity now, and especially when we start getting back together, I'm talking to the younger folks to glean some experience from those folks, missing out. You're missing out because some folks are leaving, right? We lost an awesome commander. Awesome, he's going on to bigger and better things, but he's gone, right? I have less of an opportunity to glean a lot of his experience like I've done in the past 2 years. Become Rouse is leaving. We're gonna have a lot of other, Drew Bateman's are going here soon. Glean some of their expertise, glean some of their wisdom, right, while you're here. All right, heavy hitter, right? You gotta be good in the office, you gotta be good in the jet. I'll stop right there, you gotta balance. Respect your teammates, okay? I'm not gonna dwell on this too much because I'm gonna talk about it here in a little bit, and so is our enlisted leadership. The golden rule, guys, if you don't know what the golden rule is, look it up, okay? That probably protects you from 99% of the things that I have down here below it. Take care of each other, red lines. Red lines. If y'all are texting on another screen or you're playing, I don't know, Warcraft or even like cards or something else, or your distractions outside of the sport, I do that. Please look at the screen right now and look at me, obviously, in the room. You guys, the folks I'm speaking here in the room, you know what I mean, already know this, but I want to be super, super clear, okay? Things like discrimination based on race, gender, orientation, faith, okay, not tolerated, period dot. Period dot. Sexual assault, harassment, illicit drug use, DUIs, abusive behavior, right? All red lines with me. I see these as a cancer in a body, in our family. Some are acute, and hopefully some folks know what I'm talking about who had relatives that have had cancer or looked it up. Some cancers are acute, okay? And you can go and you can extract that cancer because it's very clear, right? And it's the right move for the team. It's the right move for the body. Other cancers take time to work against. Chemo, you know, drugs, other things. And I'm making an analogy here, right, guys? But work with me. It's going to take time. It's going to take a concerted effort to work through, right? Then there's other things, the third piece on the cancer analogy, that you can do preventative measures. I'm not talking about the CBTs. I'm not talking about the stuff the Air Force forces down our throat. The Air Force doesn't force the letter I wrote, you know, earlier last week down our throat. I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, there's things we can do to be preventative, to get ourselves in the same shoes that can get after it. These red lines also don't define us. We're a strong team. I'm not in here to beat us down. I just want to be super clear and let you know where my heart is. More of that in a second. Lastly, build a legacy. I grab my note here for a second because I don't want to miss this point. You get one shot at the double deuce. Some of us have been here 5, 6, 7, 8 years. You're blessed, right? And I'm sure you love it. That's why you want to stay. It's part of the reason why you've been here. Other folks want to stay 4 or 5 years. The officers, and you got to leave them 3. You get one shot. Okay, be part of the legacy. One opportunity, right? Make it right. Be one of the members that contributes to our legacy. Your Mara Jessups, right? Your Lawrence Danners, your Eric Dunnings, Paul Pollux recently, and you're soon Nico Morales. And those are just a couple, right? And hopefully I'm not embarrassing them. I'm sure I am, because those are super humble people. Some, most of them aren't listening. But be part of our legacy, guys, right? Be part of our history book. I tried to find it in my office just recently. We have a flipping history book. Not many squadrons have a flipping history book. Why? Because people care. No one's going to write it for us. We write it about ourselves, and people read it because, number one, it's interesting. Which two, it's awesome. What we do is awesome, and you're not going to get that fulfillment anywhere else. Gosh, I promise you that. Like I said, nine flying squadrons I've been in. I've been in some awesome ones. Okay, with that, we're almost done, guys. I promise. I believe that's the last slide. Right, guys? Let's move on. I think we have First Sergeant next, who's also going to zoom in. We're doing this hybrid, guys, so work with us. Okay.
I'll just give it just a sec. Hey, good morning, team. Sorry I couldn't be there on the stage, but that's the beauty of technology. I am here with you, though, via Zoom. And I'm a little bit on the serious side today, just because we've had kind of a wild week or two with everything going on in the world, and to be truthful, I'm sure a lot of people in the squadron and out are very upset with the state of the world right now, and COVID-19 kind of took a back seat to all the all the happenings with George Floyd and the protests, a little bit of rioting mixed in there, and let's just be clear about a couple things in regards to the red lines, and that's discrimination doesn't have a place here. We got to do our best to stamp that out wherever we find it, because it's not right. But the 22nd in the Air Force does not tolerate that. That's part of that playing that infinite game, though, is that you don't win at beating discrimination in a day or a month or a year. It's something that has to constantly be addressed to really get to that end state. And there may not be a total end state where everything is perfect, but we have to strive for perfection always, because we're playing the long game. And if some of you in this virtual room are upset and you want to go out and protest the injustices of the world, we get that, and you are afforded a constitutional right to do so. The uniform did not strip you of these rights, but you are limited in a sense because you wear the uniform, because you represent something else, U.S. government and U.S. Air Force in particular. So do we have the slide with the picture? We can pull that up there, sir. So if you see the individual in this picture here, that's a National Guardsman marching in a protest in uniform with a sign, "I'm in the National Guard." Pretty self-explanatory, but it shows you exactly what can go wrong. This person misrepresented his service by rolling his sleeves up, taking his hat off, and protesting, because now he's misrepresented the U.S. military. I don't know if he's Army, Air Force, or whatever. Can't tell, doesn't matter. He ended up on Airman NCO, and now the whole world is seen him this way. So let's be clear, you can protest, but you cannot do so in uniform. It doesn't matter if you remove your hat, your name tapes, whatever. It's obvious this person is a uniformed service member. So, and you cannot do anything to discredit the Air Force, the unit, or our commander-in-chief. It's just how it has to be. And if it turns violent or there's other criminal acts being committed, you got to go. It's time to leave because you are going to be associated with that. And that's not conducive to military service. But, and then also keep your social media presence in mind, because, say what you like. If your profile is dominated by U.S. military and Air Force stuff, where you kind of represent the Air Force more than yourself, and then you say some inflammatory things online, and which, while it's your own personal opinion, you could unintentionally be tying the Air Force to that. So same goes with statements like, as a service member, I think. Stop right there. Or just back up and make things about your opinion as an individual. Well, make sure that you're just representing you to keep yourself out of hot water. And I don't mean to tell you all this to dampen your spirits. It's to protect the team. We are a team, and we care about every one of you. And I'd hate to see anybody having any trouble because you were just trying to exercise your rights, but you had a minor misstep. But we can't over communicate this enough on how service members need to conduct themselves while still exercising their constitutional rights. So with that, just stay safe out there. Keep doing great things. And I can't wait to be back in the squadron with you guys and gals.
Good. So care the most. Build cohesive teams, right? Those are two things that Colonel Trumble just hit on. How can we do this when part of our squadron doesn't feel included? It's overwhelming reading the outrage on social media from the killing of George Floyd. And I've thought, what can I do? It's ran through my head for the past week. How can I help be a friend, a wingman, a supervisor, a teammate? Here's a start. Reach out, listen, and try to understand. A patient needs glasses. So he goes to his optometrist, gives the patient his own. So his optometrist gives the patient his own glasses, and they work well for the optometrist. Unfortunately, they make it work worse for the patient, and the patient politely tells him so. The optometrist responds by saying the patient was ungrateful because he knows the glasses work perfectly. Clearly, the doctor did not diagnose before he prescribed a solution and was using a one-size-fits-all approach. The doctor failed to understand. When it comes to listening to people about things you don't experience, don't listen to diagnose, listen to understand. Hopefully the trust is there and that person will tell you how you can help. We are professional aviators. Don't be a bystander when racist jokes, racially disparaging remarks, or blatant racism is happening. This only weakens our team. Please have a vested interest in the well-being of our entire community team.
Thank you, Sergeant Reinbold and Shirt, for covering a topic. Thank you for Colonel Trumble for giving me the opportunity to stand in front of the team today and address such a tough subject. This is not a public service announcement, right? I'm not forced to get up here and talk about these things. I do it because I care, right? There might be some things that I say today that people might not agree with, right? We don't always all agree with everything that somebody says, but I can just speak from my heart. Like Shirk talked about 2 weeks ago, the whole world was focused on our COVID environment, right? Thousands of people dying every day. So how did it change when another Black man lost his life at the hands of the police? All the media outlets have changed, and COVID's taken a back seat. I look at it as scientists have been researching to find a vaccine for COVID for 6 months, where civilization in the world has been searching for a vaccine for hundreds of years to shelter out and get rid of inequality for members in our civilization. Obviously, in 1963, Martin Luther King got up and gave an incredibly powerful speech to about 250,000 citizens, where he stated, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." To me, it's mind-boggling that we're here, it's 2020, and 57 years later, his kids that he talked about are still fighting for that same equality in life. This is not an Air Force issue. This is not a DOD issue. This is a worldwide issue that needs to be addressed. Most of you guys have read the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force's letter that he posted on Twitter the other day, right? He said, "I am George Floyd. I am Philando Castile. I am Michael Brown. I am Alton Sterling." Some members have vocalized their support for the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, and some have also vocalized displeasure in the words he used and maybe the tone of the things that he said. All I can ask is that you open up your mind and open up your heart and understand that you are not living the life that he has lived his entire life. Well, who am I? I am not Eric Garner. I am not Trayvon Martin. I am not Walter Scott. And I am not Stephon Clark. That being said, I cannot fully understand how the Chief Master Sergeant and other members in our world feel. I can stand here today as a squadron superintendent, but I am Sebastian DeAngelis. I am one that truly, truly cares for 240 plus of my family members. I grew up in Newton, Massachusetts, which is on the outskirts of Boston. I lived on the north side, and in 5th grade, I went to elementary school on the south side. That side was predominantly the Jewish American side, and I grew up in the Italian American side. So going to a new school was a little bit different. I didn't fit in, right? It seemed like that side of the school was more preppy-like, wore their khakis, whatever it may be. I didn't realize it, but there were members in our elementary school that got bussed in from other communities in Boston to our school. Black members that got bussed in to come to our school. I thought I was kind of a badass at that time, right? I wore my Georgetown Hoya starter jacket, Charlotte Hornets starter jacket, whatever it may be. But I wasn't a badass, right? I still, at the end of the day, when the school bell rang, I went back to my normal neighborhood, kids outside playing along, where there were other members that weren't able to do that when they went home. Same thing happened in junior high, same thing. We had members that got bussed into our school. High school was the same thing. It wasn't until 9th grade where I think of football practice, I went up to the group and talked to them and asked, why are you guys always smiling? Why are you happy to be at school? Because I hated school. They just told me I would never understand. So they asked me one simple question. What time do you wake up to go to school? So our school started at about 8:15, I think it was. So I told them I wake up at 7:30 every morning, but that's if I decide to go to school. Most of the time I'm just gonna skip school. So they said, exactly, you'll never understand. That's when they told me that they were in a special program that Black communities have to get put on in Boston for school-age kids to go to the outlying schools that have a better education opportunity. They woke up at 4 o'clock every morning, showed up to school probably about 2 hours early. They got bussed in, showed up about 2 hours early, went through a whole day of school, waited around for football practice, went through football practice, didn't catch a bus till 7 o'clock at night, didn't get home till about 9 o'clock. Still had to do their homework, eat dinner, and try and be a kid. So to me, being ignorant, I said, well, how is that? Why would you be happy about that? They told me exactly, you wouldn't understand. So this is our safe place. Being able to come to school here is safe. Where we're from, it's not safe. We're not able to hang out with our friends outside. We're not able to do the things that you guys are able to do when you leave and go home for school that day. And that's where it finally hit me, right? I knew growing up in elementary school, there were kids that getting bussed in, junior high, but it wasn't until high school where I really finally had that conversation. This stuff still goes on to this day, right? And there's still a majority that do not understand. I still got messages throughout this week. People said, people will never realize you're always living your life with your head on a swivel. You're constantly living on the edge. You're worried about going out at nighttime and going for a normal run without somebody thinking something bad. You're getting followed when you go in stores because you're the only Black person in school or in the store. Now, I'd be naive to think this doesn't happen in the Double Deuce. It's just the society we're in, which is horrible at times to say, right? We had Deox feedback last year, so it was about 1.5 years ago. We had an incredibly powerful moment. And I still get goosebumps every time I think about it. We were at Journey's Coffee, right? And we finished going through the Deox for a few hours, right? And this is where we're going to go back to the team and talk about the team and what we decided to come out and how we were going to get after these problems. And it wasn't until the very end where a member felt comfortable enough with our leadership team to speak on behalf of the group and let us know that we had some blind spots, right? Some tears were shed. It was an incredibly, incredibly powerful moment. And it's one I will never forget. And I know others that were in that room at that time won't forget it. So where do we go from here, right? I'm here for all of you as a family member. I truly, truly take that to heart. Everyone, I don't give a fuck if your sex, your race, your sexual orientation, whatever it may be, I love every member of the Double Deuce and I will give everything I can to you. I will never know what some of you are going through, and I will never be able to truly understand that. As your superintendent, I and this whole team do not stand for any discrimination whatsoever. We all as a team need to work through that and help us get through all of this. If you're a member that's in the crowd or on Zoom watching and you have negative thoughts about a particular group, I just ask that you educate yourself, you talk to people, you learn and you grow, and you help educate others throughout your life. let's help fix this situation. Hopefully the picture is up right now. Let's help fix this situation. If the picture is up, so our grandkids do not have to hold a picture that is like the one that's displayed on the screen right now. Let's get past this as a team. My door is always open. My phone is always on. I am always here for every member to understand that we will get through this as a team as long as we work through it together as a team. And I love you all. Thank you.
I need a chair. I might get a little emotional with this. You see me? All right. Senior shirt, I know you're still on it. Those are powerful words. I know it came from your heart. I can see the emotion in your face. I can see the emotion in this room. This is what's so hard about right now with COVID, that I can't feel the energy, right? As commander, right, Colonel Paul talked about spidey sense. I call it feeling energy, right? Kind of feeling your soul in the room. It's hard, right? There's an uneasiness that we're all feeling. I have some notes because I want to make sure I cover it all. I don't want to be scripted here. First off, this is not only, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, this is not only about the tragedy with George Floyd, the killing of George Floyd, okay? It is so much bigger. And that's what's important to get across. It's so much bigger, right? It's race, it's beyond that, it's discrimination as a whole, okay? So it's red lines that we're talking about. I'm gonna start off with being vulnerable. It was uncomfortable, me talking about my family, talking about my humble beginnings, right? Dad's a steelworker, right? Mom didn't work until we were going to school and she tried to be a teacher, right? She ended up being one. It's uncomfortable, right? Because a lot of folks that I went to school with, even at the academy, came from some pretty prevalent backgrounds, right? I'll admit they were smarter than me. You know what I mean? They spoke better than I spoke. It was hard. So I'm gonna be vulnerable with you, and for one, because of how I was born, because of who I was born to, my family, I can't come close to having the level of empathy that's needed, period. But I will tell you this, I wanna have the discussions. I wanna fight that infinite fight that we're gonna get after. Here in the Double Deuce, I'm not worried about outside right now. I'm worried about you all watching, you all in this room, period. It's why that letter that I sent out on Slack is only to this team. I don't want to go anywhere else. I'm not worried about anywhere else right now. I'm worried about this team. And I use the word worry. I just want us to make sure that we are getting after it. We're getting after this infinite fight. Each of us have a unique perspective because of how we were born, who we were born to, where we grew up, all of our life experiences, experiential, all right? We have the biases that we know we have. I like the Steelers, like the Pittsburgh Steelers. DeAngelis likes the Patriots. I respect that. Reinbold likes Eagles. I don't know why. I gotta have a little levity in this, guys, because otherwise I'm gonna lose it. We all have biases. We also have unconscious biases. But we don't even realize that we're thinking. A word, a picture, a video. I'm gonna give an analogy real quick here so I can keep my composure. If I say the word patriot to Senior DeAngelis, and then I go and say it to Ro Castaneda, same time, same place, what image comes into their mind unconsciously? All right, I'm talking about folks who are coming from San Antonio specifically, and then from Boston. Probably the New England Patriots, right? Right? It's a feeling of pride. Your football team, it's good feelings, right? Probably memories of going to the games, right? And then maybe for Roe, Captain Castaneda, knowing his history books, his Texas history, which Texas is really good at, when you hear Patriot, maybe you think of the Alamo and the folks that lost their lives to defend, right, that state, the birth of that state, which eventually became part of the Union, right? And a lot of the liberties were birthed there that we took on in our Constitution and later the amendments. So that's a real quick example of how one simple word can mean so many different things unconsciously to all of us. So where am I going with this? What I'm going with this is back to the video, the live stream I asked you all to look at from General Goldfein and Chief Wright. We talked about those unconscious biases. We talked about brain trust. It's a big word, right? I had to look it up and be like, okay, brain trust. What the frick does that mean? It means who do you surround yourself with, right? You can't control how you're born. You can't control the family you grew up in, where you went to school. So guess what? You were 12. You can't be emancipated and just leave. Like, I'm out. I'm gonna go to school somewhere else. That doesn't work that way, right? Don't feel bad about that. I'm not shameful of how I grew up, right? I'm aware of it, and I'm aware of what I can control now. And that's who is in my brain trust. Y'all are in my brain trust. Y'all are in Senior's brain trust. Y'all are in Major Fernandez's brain trust. Colonel Kramer, Zelonis, Nemechek, everyone down through, you're all are in our brain trust. Why? Because our doors are open. We want to listen. Okay? We want to hear the perspective. And I get it. If you don't feel comfortable coming in to talk because of the here and now, that's fine. Right? But I want you to know that I'm talking all leadership in the room, and I'm talking about anyone sees that are watching students. If you're not creating that space, you're not creating that opportunity to have a discussion, the opportunity, that inclusiveness, right, of that perspective, then you're wrong. And it's not what the Muleys are about. I'm confident we are about that. Okay? I'm confident we are about that. We need to calibrate and make sure that we're all in the same fight. We're on the same infinite fight. I'm going to be in your corner. I guarantee you, and I'll fight harder than anyone else out there if you're up against something of these red lines. Okay? I promise you that. But I'll also be the worst enemy if you're engaged in them willingly, right? Those red lines I talked about. Okay. We talked about the letter. We talked about asking you guys to join in on the Facebook live stream. The long, infinite fight. So Simon Sinek, I shot this out, and we're almost done, guys. We're gonna keep it under an hour. Simon Sinek just published a book about 6 or 7 months ago. And Simon Sinek is amazing. I heard him at Dover. He speaks so well, and everything he says speaks just truth to power. Nico, right? What he briefed yesterday for the Joint Professional Development. The term that he uses is the finite fight for the finite game, and the infinite fight for the infinite game. A finite game or a finite fight has 2 or more players. They all play the same rules, right? They all have an end state. You know what I mean? It's the end of the game, right? I'm gonna give you an example. A boxing match. I've been in freaking hundreds of them, okay? And I will tell you that it's a finite flipping fight. When someone gets knocked out, it's it. I've been knocked out. My coach knocked me out. I've been knocked out. My coach knocked me out. No shit. I'll tell the story someday. But that's a finite fight. There's 2 players. There's rules. And someone's gonna lose, and someone's gonna win. There's no flipping draws. Okay, and it's finite. 3 rounds, 10 rounds, done. Football game. Chess. Conventional warfare. A landing phase. Right? Between you, the winds, and the ground. Who's gonna win? It's gonna be us. Right? Then there's the infinite game. The infinite game doesn't have rules because you're not established. I think you know what I'm referring to right now. Right? Every state, every person in this country, can they all agree on one set of rules on this? Nope. Is it going to change tomorrow? Nope. Is there a 100-year deadline where we're going to have this figured out? Nope. We haven't done it in 157 years. You think we're going to get it done in 100 from now? I don't know. I flipping hope we do, because it makes me angry. It's an infinite game. And I'm going to tell you that the paper I put out, the letter, the things I'm asking you guys to do, the comments in Slack, it's not a one-time push and done. We're not going to stop talking about this. I'm not going to stop talking about this. Yeah, there's a lot of risk to talk about it, and I know that. There's certain commanders out there that are not addressing it because it's risky. It's risky, right? I don't care. I don't care. I only get one shot at this too. We're going to get it right. All right? I'll talk more about the infinite game, but this isn't over. It's not over. And I promise you, it's going to get easier and easier, just like doing push-ups for the first time in your life. 8, 10, 12, whatever. Do a push-up, you're like, these suck. 10 push-ups, that's kind of hard. Then here you are at the PT test, knocking out 73, and you're like, got 10 seconds to go. 10 seconds to go, left boss. What's next? We practice it. We get after it. The infinite game is about being better. We're going to get better together. I promise you that. All right. Our diversity is our strength. That's the different perspectives, right? Code talkers of World War II, Navajo Indians, Comanches, the Cherokee, World War II, the Tuskegee of the 99th. I'm going to tell you about my experience, my history with the 99th down in San Antonio. It was a museum. And the living history that would come in. Roscoe Brown came in, talked to us. He was a fighter pilot, retired as a colonel. Played the washboard banjo for us. It was a life experience that I'll never forget. And it was perspective I gained that time that I will never forget. But it's only one, right? It's not a history of growing up, right? The Buffalo Soldiers, gosh, after the Civil War through World War II, the WASP, right? The Women Air Service members, right, that fought in World War II, right? It's all part of that diversity that makes us who we are today. It's why we're the greatest nation. I freaking believe that's the core of my heart. Elimination of don't ask, don't tell, right? These are all important things in our history, right? It's bringing us to where we are today. The important part is to recognize it and take it further. It's not over. It's not a finite fight. It's infinite. But I tell you what, the first step in fighting an infinite game, I know the folks that I push this to, and many of you are in this room, is having a just cause. If you do not believe this is a just cause, then we have to have a conversation together. We've got the first step crushed, in my estimation, as a commander. We have just and worthy opponent in this infinite fight. We'll get over the next steps later. As I said, this is not over. Okay. Can we pull up the next slide, please? It's my last slide, guys, I promise. And I got 3 minutes. I'm gonna knock it out. Okay, is it up? I'm watching. Okay, I promise you, I hate putting pictures of me because I'm a humble person, but there's a reason I have 2 pictures up here of my football team and then the boxing team I was part of, right? This is the team at the top right. This is my graduation year. We were 6-time national champions at that point. We've won more national championships, the boxing team of the Air Force Academy, than any other collegiate team in the history of college, of modern sports. Look it up. It goes around our entire boxing room. We would whooping crush fools, okay? There's a reason for that. When you train at 7,000 feet, your boss drives up the highway and kicks you out, makes you run 12 miles, that makes you better. I got a lot of perspective on that team. I also got a lot of perspective on a large team. You see the words small team, and I apologize, guys. We're going to have another hybrid commander's call. We're going to get the slides up on the screen so y'all can see it. Okay? The word small teams is up in the top left-hand corner. The book Legacy, we're almost done. Support. The book Legacy has been incorporated by hundreds of organizations, squadrons, groups, wings across this nation, across the world, because it's good. Because it's flipping good. Okay? And we're going to take this and keep running with it. Okay? Because it's made us a large organization. 241, right? Is that right? 241, something like that. 241. We were 176 2 years ago. We're growing, right? Colonel Pog talked about that. We talked about Squadron X. We're a growing organization, right? It's a growth industry. But at some point, I've done a lot of reading for the past month that I haven't been your DO, right? And Major Fernandez has come in and crushed it. I've done a lot of reading on what impairs large teams. You can only do so much. And as the environment changes, COVID, current events, the large team can't adapt fast enough. And there's other things like innovation they can't do fast enough. It doesn't mean do away with the large team. It means you need to shift your focus, right? You need to have a flexible playbook. That's step 5 in the infinite game. The flexible playbook is small teams. We already have small teams in this organization. You're part of a flight. You're part of a student. You have a crew position. You have an NCO corps. You have an airman corps. You have a CGO corps. You have an FGO corps. And you have a command team. There's others that I'm not talking about. All right? But those are all established by the Air Force. It's very rigid. And I want to break that down. What I mean by that is we're going to have small team engagements. The flight commander calls, I never did one. I've been a flight commander 3 flipping times. And we got together, but I never had like a flight commander call. Like, we're going to get together and talk about stuff. I got an agenda. I want to recognize some people. I want to talk about some processes we're going to change. I will look each and every one of you in your eye. I never did that. I'm flipping ashamed of that, right? I'm ashamed I didn't have a flight commander's call. I'm going to ask the flight commanders in this room to step up. I know they can do it. I've seen them in action the past 2 years. Gosh dang it, I know you guys are great. I'm going to ask the superintendents, the flight chiefs to support them, right? The assistant flight commanders to support them. Because you're many squadron commanders. In the Army, the company commander is G-series orders. They command troops in the battle to go die, right? You're doing the same thing as a flight commander, whether you like it or not, okay? So I'm going to ask you guys to do flight commander calls. Next week's the first one, so get ready. Heritage huddles. We're going to go back to heritage huddles, guys. Next week, I want to talk about my experience in the Tuskegee Airmen. I've been wanting to talk about this for so long. Gosh, and I put a whole case of Coca-Colas in the squadron, in the heritage room. Y'all can look it up if you want to prep for next week, what I'm going to talk about, and then some other things. So we're going to have heritage huddles next week, not today. Today, I want you guys to reflect on what I talked about, and I want you to think about your brain trust. Who's around you? What's influencing you? Here's the fun part, guys. We're going to have muley clubs. We're going to have muley clubs, okay? It's going to be awesome. And here's why, okay? Muley clubs, we can't get together in groups of 10 or more. But guess what? We can get together in groups of 10 or less, all right? We're going to do fun shit. I talk about those hierarchical groups in small teams that we have to be part of. I'm a pilot. I can't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a pilot. I'm part of that fraternity and sorority, okay? Same with loadmasters, same with engineers. It's because who I am is my flipping AFSC. But guess what? I like to go run. Doesn't like it. I like to go run. You know what I mean? I like to do other things like play video games here and there with my daughter. You know what I mean? I'm not good at it. I get freaking crushed in Call of Duty. My daughter kills me in Call of Duty. How depressing is that? You know what I mean? She just absolutely wants my ass. Okay? 14-year-old daughter. I like hanging out with dogs. You're gonna make whatever club you want. I don't know if it's gonna be on Slack. I don't know if it's gonna be on Muley, wherever we're gonna post these clubs. But here's how it's gonna go down. All right? Here's the concept. You can be a club lead, triathlon, run club, gamers club. I don't care. Okay? You can't be a student to be a lead because guess what? You should be constantly on flying. That's one thing to look forward to. You can lead a club. You can form a club after that. But everyone in this room and everyone watching is be part of 2 clubs. Two clubs minimum. Okay? To create some diversity. And guess what? You don't know who's going to join your club. I guarantee there's probably going to be a lieutenant colonel in there. There's probably going to be a loadmaster. There's going to be an engineer. There's going to be one of our sports SARMers. You don't know. You don't know what background, you know what perspective they're going to have when they come in. But guess what? Having fun, building these small teams, building these families, right? I have these 2 pictures on here because I know what happens in big teams. And I know what's so good about small teams. The perspectives I gained of being part of this small elite team. Both were good. Both were good. When you break down barriers, when you form an alliance on something fun and something that's tough, a just cause, right? You have conversations. You can't help it. You're human, right? When the senior and I go for a run, we're going to go for a run together at some point. Guaranteed, I hope we do. He's going to kick my ass. We're going to keep 6 feet of spacing because I would pass out if I had the mask on while I'm running. We're going to have conversations, right? And guess what? I'm going to have other people in the club with me. A1Cs. We're going to have conversations because we can. Because it's not weird at that point, right? We're going to play Smash Brothers. We're going to play freaking Fortnite, whatever it is. And guess what you're going to do when we get to those muley days? Guess what? Muley days, there's the hint. Muley days, we're going to have club days. All I want you to do is, if you're the club president or you're a member, just take a selfie and post it on the Slack channel. We're going to figure it out. Do what you're doing. A fun picture. And maybe a one-liner. We crushed a run up to the top of whatever, the Twin Sisters outside of Napa, or we freaking had a great time on Fortnite. All right, whatever it is, that's what we're gonna get after because we can do it. And we're gonna be flexible and agile, small teams. I'm almost done, guys. Recall. Be ready for the recall. I had one a couple days ago because I flipping hatchet. I was like, you know what? I want to know how everybody's doing, and I can't see you. My flight commanders can't see you. So have your shit updated, guys, please. Yeah, I already told you I wouldn't shock if Godzilla came out of Alcatraz, right? COVID phase 2. I promise you, we're not all coming back in here permanent, and it's not going to be back to normal. All right. The DS, Major Hale is going to push out a really comprehensive kind of order of battle. I hate that term, just it's a plan. how we're going to execute. We're going to bring some people back. It was all flight derived. I didn't plan any of this. I just told you guys, you tell me on how you can run your shop. You can still do it from home. That's cool. But guess what? Some shops can't do it from home. DTS, you guys are crushing it. I'll just name one, right? From home. Other people can't. So some folks are going to be here because you have people PCSing, other people meeting requirements for ability floors, et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to be small enough and we're going to be metered to protect our team. All right. That's all I got. I'm super excited, guys. This is a tricky time to be the first time squad commander. I'll tell you that. I'll be honest with you. All right. I'm not afraid to be honest. Okay. But I'm super excited to be with you guys. We're going to have a great time. I promise you that. We're going to get around this shit that's keeping us apart. But we're going to do it legally. We're going to do it smart. We're going to do what's right because we're agile. We're going to build small teams. We're going to fight the infinite fight to get after it. 1 hour and 3 minutes. 3 over. Questions? Questions in this room? Questions on Zoom? Again, taking risks, I don't care. Okay. Super nice out this weekend. I'm going to go do some fun shit with my family. All right. I want you guys to go have some fun. Do it safe. Gosh, do it safe. Please, please, please do it safely. Okay. Don't be stupid. Don't lose your golden ticket. Don't lose your opportunity to be part of this awesome family. Okay. And fight this infinite fight with us. Play this infinite game. I love you guys. Okay. This team loves you guys. Look out for each other. Enjoy the weekend. No, like I said, no Heritage Huddle. Monday, right? Get on Slack and look at this plan for COVID. And then I'll see some of you guys Monday, right? Some folks are going to be coming in, but we're going to do it safely with your masks. Keep those suckers on. I'm about to grab mine here in a second. That's all I got. You guys carry on. There you go. Thanks. I get the top 5. Me in my office.